Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. So, today we have the big man himself, Jimmy Thistle, the host of the After Hours podcast, where I was a guest back last year. Since then, we've met up in person here on the Isle of Man a few times, more in the summer when the weather was a bit better. And it didn't take long to realize that we were both cut from the same cloth. We've both got the same passion, helping people quit booze, get their head right, and build a life that they're genuinely proud of, not just on the outside, but at home as well. So if you're listening and you're thinking, I'm not that bad, but I'm not where I want to be either, then you're in the right place. This is going to be an honest conversation about what it really takes to change. So let's dive in. So, Jimmy, for anyone that doesn't know you, who are you and what is your mission now?
Well, apparently I'm the big man, so I appreciate that. Cheers,
I
Luke.
thought,
Yeah,
I thought you.
yeah, the big man himself, like that. Yeah, punched above my station here. For people that don't know me, I am Jimmy Thistle, 5.5 years sober and just loving life. I mean, my mission, I would say, is, I'm trying to get the word out there just how bad alcohol is. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. Like when I first got sober, I was struggling like a lot of people and just trying to get it there one day at a time and do that. But the more my sobriety kind of grows and the longevity of it, I'm doing the research and I'm learning more and more about alcohol and just the dangers of it. It's like, obviously I want to help people that are struggling, but I'm trying to get a message out there that like there's, it was identified last year that there's just no safe level of alcohol. This whole thing, a glass of wine a day and all that, it's just bollocks. It's not. We're living in a kind of draconian love affair and have loyalty to this poison that is slowly killing the world. Like 3 million people died globally with regards to alcohol, with cause and effect. So that's like, 200 diseases, 7 types of cancers, and not to mention like the domestic abuse, murders and road traffic accidents. So it's just, like the more I learn about it, the more I'm just like, my eyes are wide open and I'm like this, like as I said before, I'm not trying to outlaw it. I'm just trying to make people aware because I think the majority of people don't actually know quite how damaging it is to them. And that's the scary part, like, yeah, I was an alcoholic. I don't call myself that anymore because I'm not, I'm not dependent on it. But I think that we need to kind of, a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm not that bad and I was never that bad and I have a few drinks and I know how to socialize. And it's like, yeah, but you can do all these things without alcohol. You don't need it, Sorry, I
Yeah.
think that was a bit of a long-winded
No,
way
no,
of
no, it's fine. No, it's
introducing
all
myself.
good.
Yeah.
There's yeah, I'm going away on a stag do actually this weekend. So that's so,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's going to be yeah. So I'm going to get this one quite a lot.
Yeah.
I still get it from people now about wine. They say, "Oh no, a glass of wine for you." Is it red wine? They say something about I don't know.
Antioxidants,
Yeah,
yeah.
the
But the thing
antioxidant.
is, they're not getting the antioxidants from the alcohol. They're getting it from the grapes and the juice of the grapes. So they might as well drink a grape juice. Because the antioxidants they're getting from it are being killed by the alcohol anyway. So there is that slight little thing that you're getting antioxidants, but you're getting it from the grapes, not from the alcohol. You're not getting it from the ethanol that you put in your cars. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I read the other day you'd to get any goodness out of it, you'd have to drink like 1,000 glasses or something, and of course, all the damage you're going to do to yourself is just a complete, and that was pushed by the alcohol companies, of course.
Yeah. So many myths that it's like, the doctors in the old days used to say, yeah, a glass of wine. And I think pregnant women used to have Guinness instead of, their gin and
Yeah,
tonics because of the iron in it. And it's like, yeah,
yeah.
nah, but it's bollocks.
So that's some of the myths about alcohol. What's the biggest myth people believe about recovery?
I think definitely that we're boring and that we don't do anything and that we sit in a cave and just like while away the hours until we're gone. So yeah, I mean, I think like I don't socialize as much as I used to, but then was I a social person or was I doing it just because I was drinking? And the answer is I was doing it because I was drinking. Like I like to socialize in small groups. If it's a huge big group at a party and all that, I'm not really interested in it. And the amount of people that I speak to actually don't enjoy that situation unless they're drinking. So if you were to do that without a drink, and it's like that whole thing, it's like nobody actually enjoys the parties. They only enjoy the booze that they're getting. And it gives you that kind of weird confidence. It gives you that force field around you. So you feel invincible in these big situations. But I think that is the myth that people are boring when they don't drink. And it's like, well, hang on. How am I the boring one if you're the one that needs alcohol to have a good time? Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's the biggest myth.
it's definitely something that I've really struggled with. I've spoke to you about this before in person. I
Yeah.
remember the being so self-righteous,
Mm.
but I think for people like us who have been sober a while, especially you, it it's like the red and blue pill, isn't it, in the Matrix?
Yeah.
It's like you take like how can you not feel this good and have such a life-changing experience and transformation and not want to sing it from the rooftops and let everyone know? It like you're never gonna if if it's affected you this much and you feel this much better, then
Yeah.
of course you're gonna wanna tell everyone. You're not gonna keep it a secret, are you?
No.
But then just like I will be getting this weekend, I know they'll be saying, "Oh, you're being judgy, you're looking down on us, blah, blah, blah." And it's just like, wow. Yeah, yeah. I hear you, Jimmy.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to be judgy, and maybe some people think I am and preachy and all that, but like as you say, it's like when your eyes are wide open and like taking the red pill in the Matrix, which I don't want to say anymore because of this stupid manosphere thing. Apparently,
Yeah.
that's the kind of that's the analogy that they use. So I don't want to use the Matrix one anymore. But I'm like, I was saying it first anyway. The thing is, it's like I don't want to be preachy. But as you say, like when you know this stuff and you know that people aren't aware of just how much damage they're doing. Like, I think a lot of people think that because I was an alcoholic, I'm angry and I'm jealous because people can still drink. I don't want to drink. Like, people have asked me, like, oh, and you'll probably ask me in a bit, like, what do I do? Like, triggers and all that. I don't have triggers anymore because I'm just so done with it now that it's like, and I used to say back in the day when I was like doing any, like, never say never, one day at a time and all that. And like, absolute bollocks. I know I'm never going to drink again because I know that there is nothing there for me. Do you know what I mean? And then the thing is, if I had a drink today, I'd be absolutely hammered on one, like I'd be like my 14-year-old self getting drunk on like 2 orange and vodkas. So yeah. So it's a
Yeah, my
dangerous,
wife's the same. So she's cut down quite a lot. She still has the old
you know.
glass, and she says when she drinks now, she gets really dizzy straight away, and it's just because your body's not used to it; it can't
Yeah.
tolerate it. So I can't imagine what we'd feel like if we had a drink again.
I
My
would be
God.
flattened. I'd be on my back. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's not worth it. Yeah, but
No.
that's the thing. Like, because people, like when I first drank, when you first drank, when any first drank, it would only take a tiny amount for them to get drunk or get a bit tipsy. But obviously your drinking increases because you're building up a tolerance. And that is a dangerous thing. Once you start building that tolerance for alcohol, because nobody drinks the same amount as they did when they first started drinking. They all drink more. And it's an addictive drug. So the more you do that, the more dangerous it becomes. Yeah.
Yeah, good friends of mine have said about hangovers. They said
Mm-hmm.
they get worse as you get older, and people argue it's because you're getting older. But then I've had other friends that have said, no, it's because you're drinking more because you can
Yeah.
tolerate more, so you drink a lot more. So
Yeah.
there's that side to it as well.
But it's a badge of honor, isn't it? So if
Yeah.
you can drink someone under the table, it's like, yeah, I can split the G and then down the pint and then I'm all right. And it's like, well, all right, well done you, man. Yeah. I was drinking a bottle of vodka a day, but it doesn't make me happy. It didn't make me happy.
So for anyone listening, Jimmy, that have said that old classic line, "I'm not that bad," what would be the first thing that you say to them?
Well, it depends on the situation. If they're saying I'm not that bad to themselves in the mirror, then they're definitely that bad because they're already having that conversation, with themselves. And I think, like, if someone says to them, look what you did last night, you did this, and then it's like that question is being brought up for a reason. And if someone is then answering, I'm not that bad, I think it's the same as that thing. If you think you've got a problem with alcohol, then you've got a problem with alcohol. If you're already having those conversations, then you might not be as bad as I was. Like, first thing in the morning before my eyes were even open and I was drinking vodka. But that was at the end. I'm not saying you have to be as bad as that, but if you're already having that question where you have to say, I'm not as bad as that, then, or I don't think I'm as bad as that, then it's like, well, where do you draw that line? Like, what is bad? Is it having a bottle of wine a night, or is it having, a bottle of, or a box of wine every weekend? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's all different for different people. So yeah, you could have that old guy that goes into the pub and he drinks, 10 pints and then he wanders home and he's fine. Yeah. But like, it's still pretty bad, because what's that doing to him? What's that doing to his insides? But I think, yeah, if you're already having that conversation, then you need to look at your own habits and your own drinking, because it's all bad. But, I think that whole thing, like with, what I was going to say, like if you're already thinking, yeah, I just have these couple of beers and all that, that's fine. But if you're doing what the majority of people out there are doing, and it's like, drinking heavy at the weekend, maybe an odd beer, a glass of wine, through the week and all that, that's still pretty bad. So, yeah. But as I say, I think if you're having that conversation, then yeah, you need to have a look at your habits and have a word with yourself.
I had someone on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying that the World Health Organization state that if you have more than two, no, four, is it 4 units, and
hmm
then it's classed as binge drinking, and that's just a standard session. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what is 4 units? Like, is that a unit's a large glass of wine?
Yeah, or a pint of
Yeah, or pints. So
normal
four
straight lager.
pints. 4 pints. Yeah, that's not even a session.
No, definitely not. No, no, the
That's
amount
like
of
you
people
going
that are
out.
binge drinking is crazy then, really.
You go
Uh,
out with four mates and you do rounds, that's like an afternoon. So, like, and
yeah.
this is what I'm saying, like from my days, that's an afternoon. But yeah, if they're saying that's binge drinking, then it is. That's the problem, though. I think binge drinking's a huge problem, because people that they're not drinking all the time, but maybe once a month they'll go out with the lads or the ladies and then they'll absolutely get smashed. Their liver is like taking an absolute pounding for that weekend. Their liver's not used to it, so they haven't even built like their liver going, oh yeah,
Tolerate.
yeah. I get a bottle of wine a night, or I get a glass of wine, a night. It's like the liver knows what to expect, but then you're going out, you're not drinking for an entire month, and then you're pounding it with like an absolute belter of a session. Your liver is like, it doesn't know how to deal with all that in a time. So actually, binge drinking can be more damaging than someone that's just drinking solidly for a long time. There was a girl, she did a documentary, Hazel, somebody, forgotten her name. She's Scottish. She did a BBC documentary, and basically she was doing that like every couple of months or so, going out with her girlfriends from uni. She had a daughter, I think, and her husband, like nice, happy, married, wasn't drinking through the week or anything, just going out and binging. When she was about 30, 31, she was getting really tired. She went to the doctors and they did an LFT, liver function test, and all of her enzymes were like sky high. And they said, if you continue doing what you're doing, you're going to get cirrhosis in the next couple of years. And she was like, what? And the documentary's great. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll send you a link to it. It's like they
Yeah,
went
we'll put it
around
in
all
the
these
show notes.
different universities, and like they went down to London and they set up like a little liver function test unit to like where all the bankers were and all that. And there was all these guys and women coming out and basically getting their livers tested, young people. And so many of them were just sky high. They felt fine. They were going to the gym and doing this, but their drinking was through the roof, and their enzymes were so high. All the nurses and doctors were like, "You guys need to calm this down." And it was an eye opener for them, because they felt fine, and they were like, "My drinking's okay," but they weren't actually realizing how much damage they were doing to themselves.
And a lot of it comes back to who you compare yourself to as well, I think,
Yeah.
because you're always comparing it to someone that's worse than you. We do that
Yeah, yeah,
naturally,
yeah,
don't we?
yeah.
Just to justify what we're doing and make
Yeah.
us ourselves feel better about the amount that we're drinking, obviously.
Absolutely. You go into a pub and you see the usuals up at the bar and you're like, well, I'm not as bad as them. But it's like, well, how do you equate to that? Do you know what I mean? You're drinking to excess. And let's be honest, if the World Health Organization says more than 4 pints is excess, then you're already doing it.
Yeah.
They seem to be the only one that are kind of really driving the kind of stats and figures on this, because our government doesn't seem to be giving a shit. They don't seem to be caring and telling anyone, like, listen, I know we're funding all this and we're letting these alcohol companies, carte blanche and they're advertising and self-regulating, but these are the stats and figures. You have to go really hunting for it. Like, I mean, it's a lot easier now, But back in the day, you had to go and like find these stats and figures down, in the basement behind a cupboard. It's like, it's mad.
Yeah,
But I
I
think
think that's
people
why
are
the
getting
younger
better.
generation as well are definitely drinking less because
Yeah.
there's now.
Well, they want to be healthy. Like I know we did want to be healthy, but we didn't know what health really was back in the day because it was like, eat your 5 a day, which I think that's bollocks as well. I think you have to be eating a lot more veg than that. But anyway, that was what we were told, and we weren't told anything about alcohol. The only thing that I think, as long as we didn't smoke, we were fine. But now the kids are like, well, you shouldn't have too much fish and this, and that's great. I love all that. Like, get your whatever you eat is doing you proud, but also what are you drinking? Why are you doing all this healthy stuff and then going out the weekend and just getting smashed and ruining it all?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, one of my
yeah.
good friends back in Bristol, he's literally just put up a photo on his story on Instagram, and he's in David Lloyd Health Centre. Just did a really big training session,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and there's just a pint of lager there, and he's having it in the sun, and I'm like, oh God, all that hard work. And but I was the same back in the day.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah,
I was
yeah.
running marathons, and I was talking about this the other day on the same podcast that I just said about the binge drinking, and we dived deep into the recovery of people who do sports and endurance events, and alcohol just it is so bad for your recovery. I think it's between 30 and 40%, and we went deep into what it actually does to your body, and it's fascinating. But
Yeah.
this is why I don't think a lot of professional footballers and all these athletes, they don't drink for that reason because they want to be the best.
Yeah, like the rugby players, you used to see them, and I
Yeah.
mean, they're still big lads, but they were like proper. They had a lot of fat on them because they were boozing. Rugby is a massive boozing culture, but the players, I don't think the majority of them, they might have the odd one here and there, but that you look at them now and they're much more leaner than they used to be. I mean, they're absolute powerhouses, but it's like, yeah, they're definitely not drinking like they used to do. Yeah. And as you say, I don't think footballers are because they'll go out on these mad binges and stuff, but they're not drinking through the week and they're not drinking when they're training for a big game but they used to come off. I think Georgie Best used to come off like at half time, and instead of having like, slices of orange, he was necking whiskey.
Yeah, and
Gaza was
Gaza.
doing the
Gaza
same.
was the same.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 So let's paint the picture then, Jimmy, to give everyone some context. What did a normal week look like back in the day when it was at its worst?
When it was at its worst. So yeah, so I was living across in Hull, and yeah, towards the end there, so I wasn't working, which I'd lost many jobs through my kind of not like being caught drinking or anything like that, but just not performing and then jumping before I was kind of pushed. So I would say living at home, my ex and her kids would get up. Like I would more often than not, because I wasn't sleeping. Like I was saying, I was passed out, but I wasn't actually sleeping, and I would be waking up probably before them, come downstairs, check all my little places where I'd be hiding it. And if there wasn't anything in the house, depending on what time, we had a 24-hour garage up the road from us. So I would be wandering up there. I've been up there in my dressing gown, get up to the shop, get myself a little half bottle of vodka before they'd even waken up. And then I could come home and I would pretty much finish majority of that before they would even wake. And then I could function, I'd brush my teeth, do mouthwash, whatever. I could get them their coffee and their breakfast and all that. Then they'd go off to work. And then my day would just kind of consist of trying to, like, I knew it was bad at that point. So I would try and go, right, I'm not going to drink that much today. But I'd already had a half bottle of vodka. So it was like, right, that's already wearing off. Now they've gone out the house. So I'd be taking another trip up to maybe the other shop, get another half bottle or a bottle or whatever. So it was a consistent thing. I'd be maybe looking for jobs or whatever, but I wasn't really interested. The evening would be like, she'd get home and I'd be, if I was in a good state, then I'd be preparing dinner. I could be compos mentis for the majority of the time if I played it right. Because at this point I was in withdrawal, look, and I needed it to function, because otherwise, I'd have the DTs, or I would just be, but then sometimes I would just drink too much and I'd be passed out by the time they get home. But majority of the time I could function and I was doing all right. I'd be getting tea on. She knew that there was a problem, but I was like, getting wine in, and I'd maybe be saying, "Oh yeah, I'm not drinking today," and I'd be mouth washing and all that, and then I'd be like, "Well, let's have a glass of wine tonight." So I'd get her a glass of wine, and I'd be cooking with the wine. There'd be bottles of vodka in the bathroom hidden, so that would just be kind of ongoing. And when I did have jobs as well, I mean, there was times when I'd be, you know, temping or whatever, and I'd go out to my car at lunchtime to have my sandwich or whatever, and I'd be just having sips of vodka in there, go back into the office. Some people might say, "Oh, were you drinking last night?" or something like that, and I would just brush it off because I'd had those conversations so many times that I was just, yeah, I was embarrassed and I had shame, but I knew I needed it for my kind of medicine. Other days, I would just go and sit in my car. Like when she thought I was working and I maybe didn't have a job, or if I was just phoning in sick, I'd just go and sit in the car, not too far from the house, and I'd just sit in the car and just drink vodka all day long. I did have shame and I did have remorse and I did know that it was an issue and that wanted to get better, but I didn't know a way out. Look, I just didn't know how to do it. I went to AA and I was like, oh, I'm not as bad as them. So there's that question. Obviously, I was definitely as bad as them. I was worse than some of them, but it's a lonely thing because I didn't realize quite how I didn't know how to get out of it. And as much as I knew that, yeah, there was alcoholics and addicts around the world, but I thought I was the only one that was going through what I was going through because it warps your brain into this depressive state of like, oh, woe is me, and nobody gets my issues, and I'm only drinking because my life is so shit. My life was shit because I was drinking. Do you know what I mean? And it was like the more that I did that, it was that kind of hamster wheel of hell. So yeah, I didn't know how to get out of it. Yeah, until I did.
It's a victim mindset. It just keeps you stuck, doesn't it? Like
Yeah,
you said,
yeah,
the hamster wheel of hell. Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
way of looking at it. The hamster wheel of hell. That is what it's like. You're just constantly on that loop,
yeah.
and it's so hard to break out.
And like, if she'd woken up while I was hunting for my booze in the morning, I'm sure she probably did at some points. Like, I didn't care because I just so narrow minded, so focused on I needed that because I needed that medicine. That's what like I basically called it. And it was because, I would have gone into withdrawal without it. So I was like, it wouldn't matter. Like, there was one time when like her dad was coming over from France and he'd sent over some wine because he was coming over to stay in an apartment, and he'd sent this over, and I was like, oh, because I maybe didn't have money or whatever. So I was like, oh, there's wine in the back of our car. She hadn't brought it in the house for a reason, but they were upstairs, went out to the back of the car, grabbed the bottle of wine, stuck it behind the sofa. And then they came down and yeah, but it was like, I wasn't looking at the bigger picture. I wasn't looking at where my health was going or anything like that, but I was only interested. If I had a bottle in front of me, I was happy as Larry. I could get myself sorted. It was
What
bad.
were you using it for then, Jimmy? Was it we've spoke about confidence? Was it to escape? Was it to sleep? You said you weren't sleeping, and that is one of the big myths about alcohol. You gotta take it to sleep, but it's actually sedating you, it's making you pass out.
Yeah,
Like you said, you're not getting real REM sleep.
yeah.
Or was it just numbing out, or was it all of the above? What was it?
It was numbing out, definitely numbing out. We had been happy at one point, but we had a miscarriage, and I kind of used that as an excuse to just kind of go into it. But I was already bad by that point. I'd been using it as confidence, using it as partying my whole life, but it became my identity. It was just who I was. And I didn't realize quite how bad it had got until it had just completely taken control of me. I'd been doing that for a long time, but I just was brushing it off, and I was like, yeah, I've got jobs and I'm doing this. But everything that had gone wrong in my life over the years was to do with alcohol. And then towards the end, it just got control of me. And yeah, I needed to get out of it because I wouldn't be here if I didn't.
How many years were you in denial then, Jimmy?
I would say the first time that it kind of raised its ugly head and I knew there was a problem was probably 2000. And I mean, the first time I addressed it was probably about 2007, and I didn't get sober until 2020. So yeah, but it had been a problem before then as well. Like I had a drink driving on my name. I lost jobs. I moved around a lot. It was always an issue, but I think that was the first time that I actually kind of did something about it for a while. But again, I did something about it, and then I was like, oh yeah, do you know what? I'm actually all right. I'm not like the other ones, you know. And then I would kind of calm it down for a while and maybe get into fitness and like yourself running marathons and all that. But it was still always there, and it just took a couple of little things where I was using it as a tool, and then it just went nosedived, you know. Yeah.
You've spoke about hiding the booze. Was there anything else you were hiding as well?
What do you mean, like drugs or anything?
Well, I mean, just was there anything else that you weren't telling people, or was it?
Yeah, I mean, all sorts. Like, yeah, I mean, there was money that I was borrowing off friends.
Oh, okay, yeah,
I wouldn't be telling people. Well, I wouldn't be telling my ex that, like, if I'd lost a job, I would tell her eventually. I wouldn't be telling her if I wasn't going to work and I was sitting in my car. Like, I wouldn't be telling her any of those things. Yeah, I was definitely not a trustworthy person. I told a lot of lies and a lot of not like I wouldn't just make something up for the sake of it. It was all centered around my alcohol and my addiction. Like anything that was to do with that, I had to just, you know, like if like my mum phoned me up and she'd be like, "Have you been drinking today?" And clearly I had been. She could hear me slurring, and I'd be like, totally like, "No, I have not been drinking. Like, how dare you?" and all that, and get defensive. And it's like I'm just protecting the alcohol the whole time, you know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, and we lie to ourselves as well, don't we?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
like we've already touched on, it's the stories we tell ourselves, and we get really, really good at lying to ourselves. We sort of convince ourselves that what we're doing is right, and we're not that bad because we're not as bad as
yeah,
so and so. And then we're lying to ourselves, we're lying to all these other people around us, and we just build this identity.
yeah.
And yeah, it's just absolute madness.
Yeah, it's weird how we protect this thing that's killing us, and it's the only thing that we see as well. I saw as my savior. It was like because it did make me feel better for a short period of time because I couldn't get past that. Like I needed to dry out, I needed to detox, but I didn't know how to make that jump to do that because it was so painful to do that, and I was just protecting it to the end, you know, right into the last minute. I was like, yeah, alcohol is my buddy. It's the only one that gets me. And it's like, it's not even a thing, you know, it's like, yeah, but I was putting it above everyone else in my life, you know, which is just madness. Like my mum, bless my mum, she put up with so much and I was putting alcohol in front of her, you know?
And you can only see it when you step back and you step away.
Yeah.
But when you're in that moment, when you're in the thick of it, you're just yeah, you believe all your own bullshit, don't you?
Yeah.
It's
Just
absolutely
oblivious.
mad.
Yeah.
So since 2007 then, Jimmy, until
Mhm.
2020, like you said, did you try and moderate? Did you stop many times? Did you keep on going back? Was it a death by a thousand cuts? Was it a slow burner? Was there a big rock bottom moment?
I mean, there was many rock bottom moments. So even though it wasn't like death by a thousand, you know,
Yeah,
pins or whatever, it was
yeah,
almost death by a thousand rock bottoms because
yeah.
I kept on thinking, how can I get any lower? Like this has to be it. And then, but the thing is, even though I would have these rock bottoms, I still didn't think like I hadn't put that connection that I needed to give up alcohol forever. You know, those two words, forever. It was like, or one word,
Yeah.
forever. It was like
So overwhelming. Yeah.
so overwhelming. And I just couldn't see how my life would be without alcohol in it because it becomes so much my identity. I was like, right, okay, well, I'll knock it on the head for a bit. And I did. There was one time when I knocked it on the head for about 3 months. I'd come out of a relationship and we were both like codependent and all that. And I'd split up with her and I'd come home and it was just a complete train wreck, you know. We'd had a pub and that had got trashed on a night and just because, you know, I was absolutely off my head. So I left that, went home to my folks, and I was like 3 months off of it, I think. But I thought, oh, you know, this is good. It hasn't killed me, and I'm feeling good. I'm all right. Started running again, and then yeah, slowly it started coming back in, and that would go on for like, you know, maybe couple of years here, couple of years there, getting a relationship, and then things would start kind of the thing with me with relationships was I would always get in a relationship thinking that that part of that was something that was missing in my life, you know, maybe with the wrong person or whatever, but just because like someone would maybe show me a bit of interest and I'd be, oh, yeah, you know what? And then I would like convince myself that we were in love and this and that. But alcohol was always coming first, and I wouldn't be with someone that didn't like a drink, you know? And yeah, so that
Drinking partners.
drinking partners, and then that would happen. I was in my like what 20s and in my 30s, so it was like, you know, that would kind of be okay for a while, and then my drinking would kind of escalate, and the wheels would fall off again, and then we'd break up, and then I'd probably end up back at my folks' house, and do you know what I mean? Just things like that. It was just this constant kind of roller coaster. But again, not putting two to good. Like I knew the drinking was bad, but I was like, right, I'll just rein it in and I'll be okay and I'll get a new job. But this just, yeah, it was just a vicious cycle, man.
Yeah, you're constantly telling yourself that you can control it. It's not
Mm,
controlling you, and you can drink like many other people can. You haven't got a problem,
yeah,
and yeah, it's not gonna be the same. I'm not gonna go there again, but these how many times have you got to hit rock bottom? Exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
it's just that reoccurring story, really.
Absolutely. So yeah, so it did kind of the final rock bottom was on the island, and I remember I was just in a field. I'd come over here during COVID, and I was just in a field, a lovely day like today, and I was like drinking vodka, and I was screaming, I was crying, and I was just like, I just felt so like not lonely because I had people around me, but my brain just felt lonely because there was just nothing in there. There was no like real kind of ambition or drive, and I was just so lost in this. Like I knew that it was probably killing me at this point, and I knew I needed to get off it, but I didn't know how to. And I tried, and I'd failed, and I tried, and I'd failed, and I tried, and I'd failed, and I just yeah, I ended up in a hospital. To get my final detox. And they couldn't detox me because they have to breathalyze you first, so you have to be down to a certain level, and they go, right, go back out and sit in the waiting room, and we'll just let you. But then that's obviously me getting panicky because I would go into withdrawal, and I was like, so I'd nipping over to the shop across from Nobles and getting like little bottles and stuff, and just and the nurses kept on coming back out and breathalyzed me, and they were like, they must have known, but they were like, "Why is this not going down?" I think at one point it went up, and they were like, what is going on?" So they sent me home with a note that said that I had to have, I think it was 80 mil of vodka, like 5 or 6 times a day. So, so it was like an old school draconian type, um, tapering off method, and so that was, yeah, it wasn't enough. And I just said to my mum, like, "Oh, I'm just going out for a walk." Like she thought, this is it, we'll do this. And then we'll go into hospital in a few days and get you on Librium. But I went out and I was, because it wasn't enough. And I went and got, and then I don't know, she found me like passed out in my room later on. She was like, right, we're going to the hospital tomorrow. And I had to sit there in the waiting room this time with my mum, bless her. And eventually they gave me Librium. They could give me Librium. So they kept me in for 3 days, and that really did the trick. And then I was like, right, there's no way I want to go back to how I was. Like I've done it. I'd had a detox before and that hadn't worked. And I was like, I need to now get the support and the help because I can't do this alone. Like I always thought, I can just do it myself. I'm fine. So that's when I found Motivate, and the guys there. Yeah. I just said, I'm going to do everything and anything I can to get to maintain my abstinence.
What scared you most about stopping?
I mean, at the time, what scared me most was withdrawal because it was the most horrible thing when I could feel it coming and I knew that I needed a drink to kind of stave it off. Like that was terrifying. That whole, just because I'd had seizures, I'd had all sorts, and I just didn't want to go down that. So, but the other thing was like, who am I? Who am I without it? You know, what am I? Like that was my identity. And thinking about it now, it's so bizarre because like I'm not that at all anymore. Like anyone that knows me in the island, and like I was only here for a couple of months before I got sober. So like 99% of the people that know me on the island, they know me as sober. So it's so bizarre to think that that was my identity before, you know?
Yeah, I was talking to my boss the other day, uh, about our Christmas do, and obviously I wasn't drinking.
Hmm.
And I was telling him a few stories about what I used to do on Christmas, do's and stuff. And he said to me, he said, "Luke, I cannot imagine you being like that." And I said, "Wow." I said, "I really was like that." But it's mad, isn't it? How your identity can shift so much.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's crazy. I mean, my identity now is obviously, being sober, recovery Jimmy, but it's just mad that was what scared me most. I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to live my life? Well, I'm going to live it much healthier and better. It's just mad. Yeah.
What's the hardest part about early recovery that no one warned you about then, Jimmy? Obviously, you've just spoke about detox and stuff. Is there
hmm
anything else that comes up in early recovery?
Yeah, I mean, finding who you are, like finding out who you are. I think that's the hardest part because, like, obviously there's the detox and all of those things, but for a lot of people that are, yeah, like me, they identify with it, but they maybe didn't need to get a detox. It is so hard to find who you are as a person because if you've been drinking for a long time and suddenly you're not doing it anymore, it's like, well, what am I going to do? Like, what are my interests? Because a lot of people will say, like, what do you like doing? It's like, I like socializing. That means they like drinking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can
Yeah, it's another
socialize
word
with
for
a
it.
drinker.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never thought about that, but it
Yeah.
is a good way of looking at it.
I like to socialize, so you're a drinker then. But that's it. It's finding out who you really are, and that was scary and rewarding because I was like, who the frick am I? And I think a lot of people, regardless of whether they're a drinker or not, we live in a world where there's so many freaking distractions. Like these things are constantly going off, pinging, pinging, pinging. And do you know what? I'm pretty bad with it. But when I first got sober and I was up in the cottage, I didn't have a TV. I had my laptop to watch films and stuff, and I had a music player, but I just basically cut myself off from everything and became almost like a hermit because I needed to learn who I was. I needed to be comfortable in my own skin. And for a long time, I didn't like being like on my own and just because the noise, do you know what I mean? Like the kind of fuzzy noise in my head. So I would drink to just kind of escape and then it was okay. But like facing who you are and being comfortable in your own skin is a very, very rewarding and yet difficult thing to do. And I think a lot of people can, we get home from work and we maybe put the TV on, we're always checking our phones and this, that, and the other. And that is fine. But just take yourself out of that situation for short periods of time, just to kind of be with yourself, like going for a hike, going for a walk, no distractions, no AirPods in or whatever. Just go away and be with yourself. And I think that for me was one of the most rewarding things at the beginning. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but it's gone
Yeah.
on a tangent.
It's just reminded me as you were talking about a realization I had when I was down on Fenella Beach down here in Pill.
Yeah.
When the first summer that I went sober, and I remember I was just sat there with my wife on the beach, and she said, and I wasn't on my phone, I was just sat on the beach, and I said, I'm just happy," and it was
hmm
really weird. I sort of teared up a bit, and she
hmm
said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm just being,"
hmm
and to like the old version of me would have been like, "What are you talking about, Luke? You sound like you gone mad or whatever," but
Yeah.
but back in the day, I would have been obviously, I would have been drinking on the beach, or I would have been thinking about drinking. My mind wouldn't have been there, but and I know a lot of us in the sober community go on about being present, but that is what it is
Yeah.
to me, and it's being comfortable in your own skin.
Being
And
comfortable in your own
you've
skin, and even
yeah,
doing what you're doing there on that beach, that is a form of meditation, which a lot of
yeah,
people don't realize. They think you have to be sat there like with your eyes closed and going, you don't. It's just taking moments for yourself to just reflect and be, and that is meditation. And it's so easy to do and just have 5, 10, 15 minutes, on a daily basis. If you can do that, then you're good. Like even driving to work, turn the radio off,
yeah,
just turn the radio off and just think and be, and that's doing it as well. But a lot of people,
yeah,
we need distractions, we need constant distractions because we're not sure what what thoughts are going to come in our head, and it's like they're okay once you get used to them. Don't be scared of them, you know.
yeah, yeah. I'm guilty of it now. I'm always listening to podcasts. I'm always on my phone.
Yeah,
My wife's always telling me about it. But we've recently got a dog,
yeah.
and we've recently got a puppy. as you well know. And I
Yeah,
said to my wife, I said, "This is gonna be really good for me because it's gonna keep me grounded, and when I go out for walks with the dog, I'm not gonna have anything in my ears. I'm gonna
yeah.
be really present." And so yeah, you can you can still do all these other things, but yeah, I know I
Well, I mean, I mean, I do socials and all that because of my Instagram and stuff like that. But I think a lot of people haven't made that transition. Like it took me to get sober to make peace with myself, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of people, it's okay to use the distractions. I do it, you do it, it's fine. But I think people need to do that transition to begin with. And then it's okay to go on the phones and be distracted and all that. But if you don't learn to be comfortable with yourself first, then that stuff is just a bad distraction. Do you know what I mean?
you're
Yeah.
always gonna
Once
be
you've learned the traits of doing that and being one with yourself, then it's okay. But yeah, yeah, you still got
yeah,
to get
yeah, it's
going.
tough. It's a bit of soul searching, I guess you could
Yeah,
call
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But, yeah, we're always trying to escape with whether it's our phones, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food, whether yeah, it's all these different things, but it's
Yeah.
tough being human. It really is.
It is, and especially with the way the world is at the moment. Do you know what I mean? We've not only we got wars going on, we've got this freaking manosphere stuff that's going around, and it's so terrifying. Do you know what I mean? Because I think a lot of these guys, not to get off topic, but I can relate to them that are they were, you know, during COVID and all that. They found these guys online because they were lost individuals. These guys were lost, and they were maybe going through a bad breakup or whatever. So easy to turn to the booze from that. I did it. But then a lot of them are turning to this, you know, Andrew Tates and whatnot of the world, and it's like there's a very fine line between not turning to the booze but actually going that way as well. And it's a dangerous world out there, man, because there's so much. Like I was showing Jen the a bit of HS Tiki Talkie on my TikTok, and now like I don't follow him, but I was just showing him showing Jen what he would like, and now my algorithm is infiltrated with it. So if
Seriously.
if you show a bit of lightning to that, then that's all that's going to come through. But it's the same with booze as well. Like if you start liking and doing like anything to do with funny alcohol memes and all that, that's just going to keep coming in. Do you know what I mean? And before you know it, if you haven't done that whole thing that we were talking about and being one with yourself and being able to switch off the phone, if it's becoming your life, then you're just going to be influenced. So yeah. And it's as soon as you start seeing things like, oh, there's a beer garden, blah, blah, blah. The weather's getting nicer. It's springtime, alcohol, Guinness, cider, whatever. It's just, it makes you yearn for it. And as soon as you're like thinking, my God, looking out the window at work and it's like, it's a sunny day, you're already in the pub. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's sad and it's dangerous because alcohol's allowed to do that, you know? No other like drug or like tobacco's not allowed to advertise, but alcohol's still allowed to do it. And that's another thing, like all the prescription medicines or medicines that you buy over the counter, they come with a bit of paper that is as long as your arm with all the side effects, nausea, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 may cause, you know, stomach cramps or this or that. They all have to do that legally, but alcohol doesn't. Whereas alcohol is still like one of the worst drugs for you, but they don't have to have any warnings on them at all. It's mental.
Yeah, it's been around for donkey's years, and I've I've heard many people say that if it came out now, it would never they never allow
Yeah,
the
yeah,
mass
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
the mass selling of it because it is so toxic, but
So
it's
so
been around for so
poisonous.
long. It's absolutely and it's just so deeply ingrained in our society. It's crazy.
Yeah. I read something the other day that because people are like, well, you know, if you drink a poison, you pretty much get the effects of the poison straight away. If it's deadly, it's going to kill you straight away. Why do we not get the hangover until the next day? And it's because alcohol has an anesthetizing quality, like it numbs you. It is doing damage to you straight away, but because it's giving you this anesthetizing effect, you're numb to that, whatever it's doing to you until that alcohol wears off, and then you've got the hangover. So that's why you get the hangover the next day. It's mental. So it's poisoning you straight away. We just don't know it because it's making us numb. It's the cleverest poison known to man. And it also makes you feel good for about 20 minutes. So it's like, yeah, so we just keep doing it.
Yeah, and the marketing, like you said, just before, it's absolutely mad, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
yeah. As soon as I was talking to Ben Gibbs a few weeks back on
Yeah.
on here, the alcohol-free guy, and we were
Mhm.
talking about beers and how you associate. And like you just said, it's it's barbecue weather, and you have a barbecue, you've got to have a beer, and the condensation on the side of the pint glass, and it's all these things that these alcohol companies tap into, isn't it?
Oh,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
and it gets in your mind, and as soon as it's nice weather, you're driving home, and straight away, let's have a beer. And I used to say it to my wife all the time, Jimmy. It was always on the way home. I'd be texting her saying, "Make sure that there's beers in the fridge or whatever."
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just yeah. I look at it now, man. I think, oh my god. But yeah, at that time, I was yeah, I was mate.
Deep in it, lost in it, yeah. But it's mad as well because you look at a lot of these, like, music videos, like, whether it be hip hop or R&B or, even indie music, whatever, but it's like, especially the hip hop, like, vibe is like, really expensive bottles of Hennessy and champagne and all that. So they're doing it, and it's like, what are the kids and young adults seeing? They're just seeing like, oh, well, if you want to be rich and kind of influential, you got to be drinking the best of the booze. And it's like, it's still poison, just wrapped up in, a fancy bottle.
We spoke about triggers
Yeah.
earlier, Jimmy. You said that you don't get any triggers anymore, but what were your top 3 triggers? What did you used to do when they came in? Just for anyone listening who's sober curious.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, it's a funny one, triggers, because
Yeah.
triggers were to me, I didn't, it's like, it's hard to put into words. So
Mm.
I didn't, once I got sober for the last time, look, that was it. Like, I could walk down the booze aisle in Tesco's, but I chose not to. Do you know what I mean? Like, because that wouldn't be triggered, because I knew that at this point I was doing everything I needed to do. But I would just keep myself out of situations like that. I wouldn't go to the pub. I didn't socialize for a long time. I was just became a bit of a hermit for about a year. I
A
socialized.
year.
Yeah, I
A
socialized
year,
with.
really? Wow, that's quite
Yeah,
a long time. Okay.
I mean, I socialized with my group, my
Yeah.
home group, the meetings and all that, and obviously I saw
Yeah.
my family and stuff like that. But I didn't really. There was the odd thing that I would go to, but I wasn't really interested in it. I was doing this soul searching thing and just being me and having time with myself. I'm not saying that everyone needs to do that, but I was just so steadfast in my recovery that I was like, everything for that first year had to do with recovery. It was like going to my meetings. I did like 100 meetings in 100 days at the beginning, and then I think I knocked it down to about 3 in-person meetings and 1 on Zoom, and that went on for about a year. So I was doing a lot of it. Then I was building my work, but yeah, triggers, like, yeah, I think just staying away from pubs. Obviously it's difficult when you go into the supermarket, because especially at Christmas time, you've just got massive displays and all of that stuff. It's more a mental thing. Triggers can be triggering, but once you've made that choice to go sober and stay sober, um, I think you just need to get rid of the mental obsession so that triggers can't affect you. But again, it's like sitting with it for 20 minutes to let the craving pass, things like that. Yeah. But I think back in the day when I was like sober for a bit, and then like, relapse, and it wasn't to do with a trigger. It wasn't like because I was going past the shop or this, that, and the other. I would get it in my head maybe a day or two before I picked up, and it was in my head, and it was like, right, this is it. And I knew I was going to drink, but I was not really letting myself fight it. So I knew it was going to happen, but it wasn't really anything external that was doing it. It was just there, and it was like, right, you're going to drink on Thursday, so therefore I was going to do it. Yeah.
I I didn't find it hard over Christmas. This
Was this your first Christmas?
Yeah, so this
Yeah,
was
yeah.
yeah, so the Christmas just gone, like, when you were talking then, I was just thinking about the supermarket aisles.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and 100% around Christmas, there's always gonna be lots of booze in there. The adverts, they're all obviously Baileys is a big thing at Christmas, the Gordon's gin, whatever it might be. But and I said to my wife, one of those realization moments again. I remember just being sat there at Christmas on Christmas Day, and I said, I think I used to drink so much around Christmas just to fill in the gaps of boredom, because
Mhm.
it's just like, well, we've got nothing else to do now, really. So let's just have a drink. And everyone drinks at Christmas. But I think I was drinking so much at Christmas, but just to fill in those gaps of boredom. But like you
Yeah.
said, when you do go alcohol free, when you do go sober, and you start you go back to hobbies, you find other interests. You've got obviously you've got your sober community and stuff. It's like a different world opens up to you, and you've got all these other things to do anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, having that all that time off at Christmas, if you have like 2 weeks off, it's great. But a lot
Yeah,
of people just spend it boozing because
yeah,
they think, oh, there's nothing much to do. There's loads
yeah.
to do. Do you know what I mean? It's like a whole, and you've got 2 weeks off work. Use them wisely. Don't just get pissed and then be hungover for the rest of it.
Yeah, and then they get really bored at home and they wanna go back to work. It's
Yeah,
absolutely mad, and
it's mental.
yeah, same conversation every
Yeah,
January with other tradesmen, and it was always like, "Oh, I just got bored and I was fed up with just getting pissed all the time." So, yeah, I'm
yeah.
glad to be back to work, to be honest. I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first 2 years I was with Jen, we went away every Christmas. Well, not, we wouldn't go away for Christmas, but we go away for New Year. We didn't do it this year, but that's just because we're saving for a holiday this year. But yeah, it was just nice to get away and go off and do something, rather than, and that's the thing, like stay for Christmas if you want to do the family. Go away for another week, go away for New Year, because again, New Year's a big thing. It was a big thing in Scotland, and that was just a huge boozy night. It was bigger than Christmas up there because obviously they like a drink. So yeah, but I again, my first couple of sober New Year's were pretty easy. I think at the first year I went round and saw my folks, and then after that I was like, do you know what? I'm going to stay in and watch Jules Holland. Because I'm not bothered. It's just another night, really. And it was like, did I stay up till 12? Probably not even bothered doing that. It was like, I know it sounds really sad and boring, but I was like, it's just another night, and I don't really fancy going out into a big massive party. It's not. And this year we went to a friend's house actually, and it was good crack. We stayed out till about 1, and we had a curry, and there was a few sober people there as well. So it was just nice. It wasn't a massive crowd, and it was just a nice night.
You've mentioned a couple of times about different support groups, Jimmy.
Mm.
So what did help you? Yeah, you have mentioned AA, and obviously I know your story, but it's just for
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't really use AA as much. I went to a few meetings over here just because I was trying to do a meeting every day. But what I really got involved in over here was NA. Now, as I said before, drugs were never a huge issue for me. I was never dependent on them. But with NA, Narcotics Anonymous, they're like, well, alcohol's a drug, so you're welcome here. So
okay.
that became my home group. There was only about 4 or 5 of us when I first started, and it grew and grew I think I was there for about a year, maybe 2 years. But I was doing everything. So I was going to the drugs and alcohol team up here. I was going to SMART, which is part of Motivate. I was doing NA, CA. CA's Cocaine Anonymous, but it's effectively the same as NA. Again, it's the same thing. Alcohol's a drug. So it was just to be in with my tribe, with my peer group. Do you know what I mean? And just hearing the stories. So for me, yeah, when I couldn't get into a face-to-face meeting, I was doing them online. So I was going to places in America. I was going to Australia because it was COVID. So we could do that. I don't know. I haven't looked at any meetings. I'm sure you can still go online, but it was very, very prevalent back then because no one could get to meetings. So it was like, we've opened this up. We can do it on Zoom. And you'd go in, and you could turn your camera off and you could just sit and listen, or you could speak. But sometimes I was going into groups, but it was like hundreds of people. So it was just nice to just sit and listen to the stories. That was the main thing for me, knowing that I wasn't alone. At first I was like, these people, I'm not as bad as them and all that. And it doesn't matter as long as you start listening for the similarities, and you can always find similarities to your story from other people's stories. Doesn't matter who you are, what level of addiction you're at, you'll always find similarities, and that's what you need to listen for, and that's what helped me. Yeah.
What was going to be my next question? What helped you most out of all of those things that you've just listed? Was it the meetings where there was that relatability factor where you could hear other people's stories?
That was the thing that I enjoyed the most. But again, it was just like everything really. Everything was, helping me because I started up my Instagram, but I was doing YouTube, and I was watching films on YouTube, just learning everything about it because I had no clue. As soon as people started saying it's a lot more dangerous than you think, and I was like, what? Like I thought, oh, I'm going to be 60 or 70 and I'll get cirrhosis and then I'll die. But being I'll have had a good life and all that. I didn't realize that you can get cirrhosis at like that girl nearly did at 31, 32. One of my friends from rehab, Lindsay, she actually sadly died last year. She was only 36. She got sober at the same time as me, and we all thought she was sober, but she was secret drinking. And yeah, right up until the end, she wasn't telling anyone, and then she went into hospital and had to be put into what is it, respite care. Just at the end, 36, and she drank herself to death. And it's like that for me, learning that and researching that and just going, fuck. Like, why is nobody telling anyone this stuff? You know, why do you have to get to rock bottom as an alcoholic to then start opening your eyes up? Why does it have to get to that point? Do you know what I mean? Luckily, touch wood, that I never got to, have any, long lasting effects. But there's people that the same age as me that I've had in the podcast that are, Lucy's husband that died. It's just shocking. But he was turned away so many times by the doctors because he wasn't bad enough. Like we send 3 people a year to rehab. You're not drinking enough. A couple of years later, he's dead. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's madness.
I remember listening to that podcast of yours, and yeah, it made me cry.
Yeah,
It was
powerful.
what a story
Yeah,
that was.
yeah.
But yeah. So when you hear these sort of stories, and it touches people so close to you, when people say about you drinking again, it's just like, well, you have no idea. You don't know what I've been through, and the people that
Yeah.
have been so close to me. That's why you're doing what you're doing, right? That's why you're spreading that message, because people just don't know, do they?
They don't know. They like, I think a lot of people will be like, well, your Instagram, your podcast, it's just for people that are in recovery or struggling. No, it's not. It's for everyone. It's for everyone. If people start listening to my podcast, then they can maybe start opening their eyes too. Like it's just madness that it's like just we're the odd ones out because we don't drink, and it's like, yeah. But all we can do is just keep kind of banging the drum, and I hope that at some point. I mean, I know. I'd like to guarantee that alcohol is gonna go the same way as smoking, but it's getting there, and it's like I just want to say to people, get on the bandwagon now, because in 10, 15, 20 years time, when it's pretty much like on the fringes of society, like smoking is, you're gonna wish that you did it now. You know?
Yeah, and get all those years back
Yeah, yeah.
and start living.
And
Yeah. So
realizing you can live without
hard not to
it.
be self-righteous, Jimmy. I know.
No, I
It's
know,
that
but
whole balance thing, isn't
I
it?
don't think we are being self-righteous. Like, I don't think that's what it is. I think it's more like I'm just trying to warn people almost. Like, I don't want people to get as bad as I was, because that's not a happy place to be, and it's not a good place to be. And you don't have to get to that place to start to read a bit of something online that says that, alcohol's not got a safe level and it's killing you. It's not rocket science. But it's difficult because nobody wants to hear it. They've got this like old school loyalty, love affair with alcohol that nobody wants to tarnish, and it's like, all right,
Yeah,
you'll
it's a
find out.
tradition. That's one that I get a lot from old friends. It's what we've always done. It's like, yeah, but it's not always what you got to do. Yeah, just
Yeah,
because you've always done it.
you can change. I mean, the thing is, if we were the same people as we were when we were in our 20s, look, like that's pretty sad. People evolve, people change, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like, that's why marriages work if you evolve with that person. Do you know what I mean? If they're like, oh, you're not the person I married, it's like, well, we got married 20 years ago, so I'm fucking glad I'm not the same person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like you have to evolve, you have to change, and you have to move with the times and surrounding circumstances. So if people still have this love affair with this poison, we only really started drinking it way back in medieval times because the water wasn't safe to drink. So they drank that to kind of keep themselves, well, as they thought, hydrated. But yeah. And then it slipped into becoming this like traditional thing, like let's drink it with weddings and parties and all that kind of stuff. And it's just slowly over the years just slipped into folklore. That's what it is. And it's like, how can we change that? Not overnight, but we will.
what daily habits then, Jimmy, moving forward? What are non-negotiable to you now?
Well, I do have to I'm always checking in with my Instagram, whether it be a reel or, kind of posting something. It's not I wouldn't say it was daily. I mean, I'm trying to do it daily, but have to do something with regards to recovery, whether it be setting up a guest for the podcast or, going into Motivate and doing our peer mentoring group. Listening to a podcast about recovery, because every day I do something that is with regards to recovery, because again, it's not to keep me sober. It's just that I don't want to forget, I don't want to forget where I've kind of come from. And I think that if I didn't do a post or didn't do this, or it might not help someone, and I think the more I can do it, if I'm just helping one person with each post or whatever, then it's one person that might have been struggling otherwise. And I think that's it. I mean, other than that, I just have to keep a positive attitude. And I'm not saying that I'm, be depressed or anything like that, but life is good. And I try to be like, when I was drinking, I was massively depressed. And I think that kind of was like the chicken or the egg, what came first. And it was like, well, if I do have times in my life where I'm getting a bit down and all that, but I just have to snap myself out of it. And it is doing a bit of meditation. It is, reading something or listening to something, or even just putting on a favorite music track, just little things like that, just to try and snap yourself out of it. It's not instant, but I know that if I'm, you know, veering down some kind of path, then I need to bring myself back from it. So, yeah.
You find with your socials that it keeps you accountable as well, I
Yeah.
guess. Definitely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Massively
Yeah,
so. Because
people
it's
are
my whole journey, and that's the thing. Like, somebody said the other day that they basically got taken down, and she's about 4 years sober, and she'd all her recovery journey on there, and she's just in Meta have just taken it down for some fucked up reason. She can't get it back. So I've started at least once a month just downloading my stuff just in case. Do you know what I mean? If I get hacked or whatever, it's like it's gone into the ether. And I'm like, and it's like, I know it's not the most important thing in the world, but just all those pictures and posts and all that is my journey. And I think was it Ben that was a sober guy? He did that, and he was like, he turned it into a book, because I know I'm not saying I'm going to turn it into a book, but it's just nice to have it, because if it's gone, and you're never getting it back. So
yeah. No,
download it.
no, that is a good point, definitely. What, so for anyone listening, Jimmy,
Hmm.
what are the early what's the early signs to look for if they feel like they may be drifting?
Well, I mean, are you thinking about alcohol more often than not? If you're getting to, say it's a Tuesday, what day is it today? Wednesday. Say it's a Tuesday or Wednesday midweek. So I don't know. Say it's a Tuesday, and you're at work, and you've just had your morning cup of tea. Sorry, your kind of morning break. So it's about 11 o'clock, thinking about lunch, but then suddenly alcohol popped in there, and you're like, oh, what am I going to do at the weekend? Am I going to be drinking? And if that's becoming quite a regular thing, where you're thinking about it and not thinking about the night out, you're thinking about what you're going to drink on the night
Yeah,
out, or what type of wine you're going to get this evening when you're on your way home, not actually like the conversation that you're going to have with your spouse or your kids.
no,
If you're
no,
thinking about the brand or the flavor of wine, whatever it
yeah,
is, you know what I mean, whether it's a Pinot or whatever, if you're thinking about that, it's already taking control of your life. You shouldn't be thinking about that. When you think I'm hungry, you're not instantly thinking I'm going to have, a steak or this or that. You think I need to get a snack. So you'll go and find some, you look in the fridge. Do you know what I mean? You're not instantly going right. But when you're thinking about alcohol more and more and more, it's already done its trick. So you need to basically get out of that now. And that's it. They'll be planning a night out, and they'll be like, right, what time are we going to get there? And are we going to drink before we get there? The whole night is surrounded by the alcohol. It's not about the night out and who they're going to meet and who they're going to see. It's about the booze. Annie Grace, that does this Naked Mind, she did a few tests and things and studies where there's a group of people, and they just finished work, and she was sober at this point, but she was noticing them, and they'd all been really stressful day at work. So they'd gone to this bar after work, and they were all going, boss is a dick and this, and we've had a really hard time. And then the wine came out, and they hadn't touched a drop yet, but suddenly their spirits were lifted because the wine had arrived at the table and they were going, oh, yeah, this is a really nice vintage and blah, 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 and all that. Then the wine was poured and then they'd have a couple of glasses. And once they had the couple of glasses, the mood kind of went back down again. And it was back about the grump of the work and this, that, and the other. So there's a placebo effect with it, and it's the anticipation of having that wine or beer or whatever. And it's like it's not actually the thing that does it, because once you get the thing, you're numbing yourself straight away. But this is not what people remember. They remember that the alcohol has given them this good night, and it's not that at all. It's just this pure placebo thing. But then that overwhelms them, and their brain starts constantly thinking about the alcohol. So yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a really, really good point. It's the anticipation, it's the excitement of the occasion.
Yeah.
I remember when I was talking to Ben Gibbs about it a few weeks back, and when I first had my first Heineken Zero in a pub, I was still getting the buzz. I was getting the lift.
Yeah.
And my brain was like, "What is going on?" But yeah, it's the people you're with, the conversations you're having, and I think that's what it's all about. It's not about the alcohol, and that is
Not
the
about the
message.
alcohol.
That's the message that we drive, right?
Absolutely. And I remember one time I was heading up to the shop, the petrol station to get, and I was absolutely like, I could feel the withdrawal coming on. I was just hanging, and I knew I needed to wait until they'd gone out to school and work, and then before I could leave the house. And then I was like waiting. They eventually went, and I was like hop, skipping and jumping up to that shop, but actually dragging my ass up, got the bottle. And I got out of the shop and I put it in my pocket. And as soon as it was in my pocket, I felt all right. Like the withdrawal was still coming, but that little boost that I got, because I knew it was here and it was going to be in me shortly, was like enough to just settle me for like a couple of minutes. Like I got round the corner and I started downing it like some old Jakey in the street. But just those, and I was like, wow, that little anticipation that I had it, that I knew I was going to be like a safety net. Do you know what I mean? And it was weird and it was scary. It was scary because I knew that it wasn't good, but I knew that I needed it. Yeah. So there's definitely a placebo effect there. And I think a lot of people need to, like, if you said to someone, even if they say, I did a post the other day, it was like, you take it or I'm a take it or leave it kind of drinker, it's like, well, leave it then. Just leave it for a bit. Because even if someone says that to you, I bet they haven't left it their entire life. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I take it or leave it. Well, fucking leave it then. Go to a night out without drinking. Oh, I couldn't do that. Well, you just said you could. So prove it. But it's difficult because they're tied to it. Yeah.
Yeah. It goes back to the identity thing, doesn't it? And the stories we tell
Absolutely.
ourselves again.
Yeah.
It always goes back to that. So this new life that you've built for yourself here then, Jimmy, and the big transformation, the big identity shift.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that you're most proud of today?
Oh, I would say first and foremost is my sobriety, because that, like, without that, nothing. Like, I was pausing there because the most thing that I'm proud of is having my beautiful wife and her 3 amazing kids, my stepkids. That is the thing that I'm proudest of most, because that's like where I've got to. But I've got loads of other things, but that is the main thing. But that wouldn't be there without getting sober. So that is still the thing I am most proud about. A
The
friend of
foundation.
mine was, yeah, like a friend of mine told me years ago, because my Instagram was getting quite big, and she was like, oh, you need to make sure this doesn't become your identity and who you are. And I was like, oh yeah. And the more I think about it, I'm like, nah, fuck that. Like, this is my identity. Of course it is. Like, I've got my job and all that, and if I can do this full time eventually, that'd be great. But I'm not about that. It's about me being sober and me sharing the word and trying to help other people. And that is what I'm most proud about, and as I say, none of the other stuff in my life, my job, my business, the photography that I do, the podcast, and having my beautiful family, none of that would be there without the sobriety. So yeah, that's the main thing.
What would your family say is the biggest difference in you now? I mean, did they know the Jimmy before?
They didn't know the Jimmy before.
They didn't know the Jimmy before, right? Okay.
They didn't know. My mum and my dad obviously do. My brother and his partner do it.
Okay. So what would they say, Jimmy?
I mean, I would say, honesty, definitely. Like, I'm definitely a much more trustworthy person in building that trust with my family again. But I think, like, my mum knew who I was deep down. She's always known who I was. And she's just like, do you know what? I'm just so proud to have you back. That's kind
Wow.
of the thing. Yeah, she just loves having her son back, and it's like, yeah, man, because that's, it's quite emotional, but I think, I put her through so much and they're not getting any younger, and it's difficult to kind of say that, but like, it's, yeah, definitely just knowing she knew the whole time that I was in there and that I was doing it, she could see I was killing myself, and just to have her son back is, yeah, undoubtedly the best thing. Yeah.
Why do you think alcohol brings out that dark side in us then, Jimmy? Because I've spoke to so many different addicts now, and it really does. It brings out that side of us, that part of our personality. Why do you think it does?
Because it's a poison. Because it's an evil poison. I mean, I don't think I know that sounds all like, oh, he's, meddling with the dark arts and all that. No, it's an evil poison. And, nothing that's that deadly and dangerous can have any good come from it. This is what we need to get. And I know I've been harping on a lot the whole episode, but I'm just so passionate about it. But I think we need to start we need to start accepting for what it is. It's a poison. It should have a skull and crossbones on the bottle. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not, and for something that is that deadly, like 3 million people last year died globally from it, like that's insane. And yet it's still this warm, cozy, cuddly, glamorous thing that we have. And I think that needs to change, like, because it's an evil poison that kills people. And I think that is, our brains and our bodies are kind of trying to deal with what we're doing to it, and I think it brings out the worst, because you get some people that can just be a happy, go lucky drunk, but I don't think those people are absolutely getting completely smashed. I think the more smashed you get, the angry side does come out with the majority of people, because yeah, it's like, I think the Arabic word for alcohol is alcohol, I think, which
Yeah,
means
I've read
body
this
eating
before.
spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I have read this. It's crazy. I know.
So, that kind of says it all. That's why, you know, the Muslim world don't drink, don't imbibe, because it's a body eating spirit or whatever. Yeah. Mental.
So anyone that's super curious that's listening to this, Jimmy,
Hmm.
who has related to a lot of the things you've said, that we've said
Hmm.
about going alcohol free, what would be your advice to them? What's the first thing that they've got to do or they've got to try?
They got to find their tribe. They got to not do this on their own, because a tiny percent of people can just have spontaneous sobriety and do it on their own. But the majority of us need support. We need help. We need, not just from, and when I say tribe, I don't mean you have to go and find, an AA group or a smart group or an NA group. You can find your tribe online. You can find it in the sober community like us. You can even find it in just listening to podcasts, as long as you don't have to be talking to that person. If that person's in your ear, like you and me will be in hopefully thousands of people's ears, then that is their tribe, and telling your family, telling your friends, make them part of your tribe, because they're going to support you. If they don't support you, then tell them to get off down the street, because why wouldn't they support you? If you're wanting to do something and then you see it as being beneficial to your health because the alternative is not good for you, why wouldn't your friends and family support you? So you need to have a conversation with them if they're not ready to support you. But hopefully 99% of friends and family would support them. That can then be part of their tribe, but it's all about building your community and just telling people. I know a lot of people don't want to shout it from the hills like we do, but that doesn't matter as long as you tell people that are close to you. But also getting support online. Find a sober coach like yourself, or hopefully what I'm going to be in a couple of months. Do NA, do CA, do smart meetings. There's a whole plethora of other ones on there, but just find your community, find people that have got like-minded, find people that are just starting like yourself, but also find people that have been there before. And then someone, Hamish from the Sober Awkward, said the first day he got sober, he looked in the mirror and he realized that he was just as sober, because he'd done a day, he was just as sober as someone that had 20 years sobriety. We're all just as sober as each other. Once you get a day or even an hour, you're just, well, you probably not an hour because you're probably still pissed. But do you know what I mean? Once you get that out your system, you're just as sober as me, and he's just as sober as the next person. So we're all just as sober as each other. So we're all just willing to help each other. That's it. It's an amazing community, and it's It's just open and ready to be tapped into by so many people out there, you know?
Social media gets such a bad rap, doesn't it?
Ah,
For so many reasons, I understand, but I think the sober community on Instagram is brilliant. It's thriving,
it's absolutely amazing.
and
Yeah,
everyone's so supportive. It's
yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah,
I
that's the
absolutely
thing,
love it.
like, whenever I see someone that's just popped up and they're, like, on day 1 or first week or whatever, I'm always commenting because, if I see it, I'm like, yeah, because that's the people that need like, in the AA or NA, in the fellowship, the person that comes to the meeting who for the first time, they're the most important person in the room, and they tell you that. They say, "You are the most important person here today." And it makes them feel welcome because they are the most important person. We all feed off of their newfound sobriety,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah. I think radical honesty as well is the first thing that you've got to be.
yeah, yeah.
You've said yourself many times during this chat, Jimmy, that you were lying to yourself all the time. I think the moment you take responsibility for your actions and you're honest with yourself, then you can start being honest with other people around you as well. I think that's a really big step.
Without a doubt, and I think that's what I was saying, like, when you tell your friends and family, be honest with them, don't like, I know a lot of people might say, "Oh, yeah, I'm going for a run, or I'm working, or I want to drive, and I've got a big office meeting." Yeah, that's fine, but if you're gonna do this for longevity, you need to tell your friends and family, and they will have your back, do you know what I mean? But you need to be honest with them, because if you're not being honest with them, you're not gonna be honest with yourself, and also, I think sometimes people don't tell their friends and family because they think, if I'm gonna slip, at least I've not made a big deal out of it.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
they're already dropping in the first hurdle. Do you know what I mean? Because they've given themselves that escape route.
Yeah.
If you tell your friends and family, and like what I did, I put it on, I think it was from day 13, I started posting every day on Instagram. It was to hold myself accountable. Um, Everyone's different, but that's what worked for me.
I think dry January and stop October help as well because
Yeah,
that gives you a sort of window when you're not going to be judged and they're not going to think you're so strange or whatever. So I definitely used that when I
yeah,
did dry January. And I
yeah,
remember as soon as February hit, I was like, God, what am I going to say to people now? Because I don't want to drink anymore. I'm fed up with it.
yeah.
But before I could hide behind that, oh, I'm doing dry January. And like you just said, oh, I'm driving or whatever. So when people started saying to me, why aren't you drinking in February? I was like, well, I did try January and I feel really good. And yeah,
Yeah.
it goes on from there. But
And
it's
that's it.
sad.
I feel better because you do. So, like, well, they're like, "Well, why are you not drinking in February?" Because I feel good. I don't want to feel like shit anymore. Yeah, it's crazy. But I think the Australians, so there's Stoptober, Dry January, and the Aussies, I heard yesterday, they do a thing called Dry July because it's got a kind of a bit of a rhyme to it. So I'm going to start coining that over here and see if we can get people. Because you know what, like my sober seasons group. When is this? Is this coming out this Sunday?
Yeah, it'll be next Sunday, Jimmy.
Next Sunday, yeah. So, I've got a sober seasons group. Just putting a little plug, which is like it runs from the solstice to the equinox, and equinox to the solstice. So the new season, sober spring, starts on the 21st of March until the 21st of June. So it's just a free Facebook group for people that just want to get a bit of support. Try the 3 months. I'm not saying you have to do it forever, but if you try the 3 months and then see what happens, there's so many people on there now. It's growing pretty big, but I was just thinking, so the end of that is like 21st of June, coming up for July, and then we can go into dry July. So yeah, yeah. I think we need to start making that, because then you've got January, July, and then October. Do you know what I mean? Summer's over. October's a good time for people to get sober. The more of these things we can get, then
Yeah,
it's
it's
good.
true.
You
It
know?
is true.
Yeah.
A lot of people, friends and family that I've spoke to, because this is the thing, like you never really meet anyone that says, oh, I need to drink more. It's always because deep down they know it's unhealthy and it's not good for them. And they always say, don't they? Oh, I need to cut down drinking. So I'll be talking to people and they'll say, I can give up because I got this festival to go to, I got this holiday to go to, I got this and that to go to. And it's just like, oh God, I said, look, there's never a better day than today to stop. So just bloody stop.
Because there'll always be something. There's always going to be
Always be
something. There's
something,
always going to
Jimmy.
be a
Exactly.
birthday or a wedding or a festival or a gig or a chess club. I don't know. There's always going to be something. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. And the thing is, when you're saying that people go, oh, I need to cut down, I need to cut down. The reason why is because, like we were saying, nobody drinks what they drank when they first started drinking. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's alcohol increases over the years, unless there's a few like random ones, but it does because they're building that tolerance, and that's already on the path to addiction. Because let's be honest, it's a really highly addictive drug, and people are just they're rolling a dice with the drinking. Because, in my opinion, if you're a drinker that uses it regularly, then you're only a couple of traumatic events away from using it as a tool if you're not already. So it's walking a
And
fine
that was
line.
another thing as well, Jimmy. I remember when I started listening to your podcasts, and you were saying that it's a drug, and I was like, "Well, really?" A lot
Yeah,
of people don't even know that, do they? It's
no.
absolutely mad.
It's
But
a
then yeah,
highly addictive drug, and it's like the withdrawal from it. Okay, so people that get withdrawal from heroin, I mean, if you're a heroin addict, right, when you're taking the heroin, it's not to get high anymore, it's to stave off the sickness from the withdrawal. Now, the withdrawal from heroin is, I believe, I've never had it, much worse than the alcohol withdrawal. It takes a lot longer once you get off it, but it can't kill you. You can die from alcohol withdrawal. That's
really.
yeah. So if anyone's out there that's really struggling and they're getting DTs and withdrawals, they need to seek medical help. They can't just cold turkey it because there is a danger. Like it's not like a mad killer. Like there's not people that are just dropping dead from withdrawal, but it can. That's the thing. So people need to seek, proper medical advice or get a detox or whatever before they just cold turkey it. I don't want people to just suddenly think, oh, I need to give up drinking, but they're already drinking a bottle of vodka a day or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, there's levels to this.
there's levels to it. So if they're worried, then they need to seek medical help. Yeah.
Are there any books or podcasts that you'd like to recommend, Jimmy, that have helped you?
Yeah, I mean, well, podcast wise, the Sober Awkward, Vic Vanstone's podcast. She's got a brilliant one. She's English, but she lives in Australia.
Yeah, it helped me.
Books. So, like, I know people have read these years ago, but Alcohol Explained by William Porter is it's just an amazing book.
It's such a good book. It's amazing.
Such a good book. And Annie Grace's This Naked Mind. Yeah. Just
Yeah, it's a
loving
great
those.
book.
There's another one, Augustine Burroughs, and he's got quite a few books, but they're all kind of related on his childhood. But this one's about when he got clean. It might just be called Dry, actually. Yeah, I think it's called Dry. Augustine Burroughs. It's a funny, heartbreaking tale of him because he was rock bottom, but he was still functioning, and it was like, but he was literally getting close to just being sacked from his firm. But he was like right up there, he was like, he wouldn't even drink like a beer. He was out with his mate. His mate was a undertaker, and the two of them would just go out in New York and they just would drink cocktails all night long, cocaine, everything, and it was like just a mad story. Another one is The Outrun by Amy Liptrot, and that's a film as well. It's a great book. It's her story, and the film had Saoirse Ronan in it. It came out a couple of years ago. Both great, yeah. The film and the book.
I haven't heard that one. I'll try that one as well. Brilliant. So, Jimmy, where can people find you? What does the next chapter look like for you?
So people can find me, my home, I would say, is Instagram. So it's recovery_Jimmy. I'm on TikTok, recovery.Jimmy, I think. The podcast is YouTube and all major platforms, Spotify, Apple and all that, and YouTube. It's After Hours with Jimmy Thistle. And yeah, the next chapter is going to be getting my finger out and writing my book. Like, I've been saying this for years, and I did write. I mean, I've written about 30,000 words on it already, but that was kind of way back in COVID days, and I've just kind of been living my life, and now it's like time to. That's what I was saying at the beginning. I might take a break after this season of the podcast and just give myself a month or two to just get it going again over the summer, and then get back to the podcast. But you know what it's like. I'm addicted to the podcast. I love doing it. I love speaking to people. So we'll see if I can fit everything in at once. But that's my main next project, because I've got, the Instagram's going well, the podcast is going well, so it's kind of like they're kind of, they're ticking along quite nicely. Obviously, I want to build the podcast up and up and up and up, but the book is the next thing. So I really need to get my story down, because I don't want to be one of these people that are like, I'm 46 now. Like, I don't want to be 50 and go, I wish I'd written a book.
Should have done it.
Even if it only sells 1 or 2 copies, do you know what I mean? Just get it done, get it self-published, and then it's out there, like I've written a book. Yeah.
So when's the book coming out, Jimmy? When are you gonna?
I mean, I think once I get going with it, I will just smash it out. I'm quite like that. Like, once I've been talking about doing the podcast for a few years, and then Jen and I got back from Ireland, just not New Year there, but the New Year before. And I was just like, right, boom, this is happening. And I think by the 17th of January, I'd had my first episode out. So it was that quick, and I know with a book, you've got to write it. But once I get into the flow and I start doing it, I'm off and running. So yeah, next
By the
week,
time you're
next
50.
week. Yeah.
Jimmy, so thank you so much for coming on today, mate. I really appreciate you taking the time out to come on for a chat, mate.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. It's been good to see you. We need to meet up and go for a coffee at some point, mate. Now the weather's a bit better and winter's kind of out the way, we will do it. Yeah.
No, yeah, because I remember I come down to you in Port Erin on the beach, didn't I, last year as well? And you come up to Peel for a coffee as well.
Yeah. It's the best beach in the island, mate, down in Port Erin. So yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Good to be.
But yeah, no, thank you so much, mate, especially for your for all the stuff you do with your podcast. That really, really helped me with
Good.
my
Yeah.
alcohol-free journey in the beginning, and I'll be forever grateful.
You're welcome, mate.
And thank you so much for making me feel so welcome here on the Isle of Man as well, Jimmy. I really appreciate it.
We do need to go out for a coffee, mate, definitely. But we appreciate you on the Isle of Man, mate. And I love your podcast. It's got some great episodes. So it's just a different take on, the normal kind of stories that, I kind of do on mine. So yeah, keep it up, mate. And yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Thanks, Jimmy. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
See you, mate. Bye.